Today I'd like to talk about the most controversial topic currently plaguing the zeitgeist. Did J.D. Vance have a romantic rendezvous with a piece of furniture? Now, J.D. Vance, as I'm sure you all know by now, is Donald Trump's choice as his new vice president, since the old vice president, I guess, didn't want to come back due to President Donald Trump trying to have him murdered. On a side note, you know how people sometimes ask, like, if you could go back in time and say just one thing to your younger self, what would you say? That's the sentence I would say, just to fuck with my own head. Vance is also author to the hit book, which became eventually a movie, Hillbilly Elegy, a memoir in which he pretends to come from Appalachia and wants us all to know that they're poor because they're lazy and they drink sugary juices and stuff. That book was a huge hit amongst conservatives for seeming to support what they've been saying about poor people for a century, and also among liberals for seeming to provide a tidy explanation for why poor white people like Trump. You know, an explanation that doesn't involve abject racism. However, it turns out that it was one of those books everyone bought and then put on their shelf because it was trendy, but they didn't actually bother to read it. Thanks to that, shitter user at Rick Rude's Calves went viral with this shitpost. Can't say for sure, but Vance might be the first VP pick to have admitted in a New York Times bestseller to fucking an inside-out latex glove shoved between two couch cushions. Vance, Hillbilly Elegy, pages 179 to 181. To me, this is an excellent example of a classic shitpost. There's a ridiculous accusation bolstered by the formal citation with the pages noted from an otherwise unknown account. It's a chef's kiss. Now, I know that earlier I posted a video in which I explicitly call out Democrats for spreading misinformation and idiotic conspiracy theories in order to compete with Republicans. I very clearly said we should not do that. But shitposting falls into a bit of a gray area for me. Now, depending on who you are and also where you are on the internet, shitpost can have a few different meanings. In this case, I'm referring to shitposting as a seemingly low-effort post that posits something completely ridiculous or confusing with relatively little explanation or context that would help the average reader understand whether it's ironic or not. Shitposting is an extremely effective way of derailing serious conversation, and far-right 4chaners and Redditors used it to good effect in favor of Trump and against Hillary Clinton back in 2016. And that sucked, speaking as a progressive who very much did not want Trump to be elected. But still, I think of shitposting as distinct from the spreading of disinformation, though the two can overlap. In this case, it's definitely possible people saw that tweet and thought, oh my God, that must be true, and spread it. And it became misinformation. So the shitpost to misinformation pipeline is definitely there, but the two are distinct concepts, and I think that that's important to remember. Way back in 2003, long before shitposting was even a word, Dan Savage held a contest for people to come up with a new definition for Santorum, which up until that time was simply the last name of a noted anti-gay piece of shit senator, Rick Santorum. The winning definition that they chose was that frothy mixture of lube and fecal matter that is sometimes the byproduct of anal sex. Savage created a few websites like spreadingsantorum.com, and people gamed Google to push it to the top of the search results. News agencies spread Santorum even further, and it became a national story. Santorum was very, very angry about all of this, and not for nothing, but he got demolished in his next election and has not held public office since. Now, this was clearly all very silly and was in no way a substantive critique on Rick Santorum's major policy positions. It wasn't even a substantive critique on his opposition to same-sex marriage. Not only, though, was it very effective, but in my opinion, this was ethical discourse. Opposition to same-sex marriage was and is an inane policy position that does not deserve serious debate. It deserves mockery. Any person advocating against same-sex marriage deserves mockery. And that's something that shitposting is very, very good for. As you may know, for pretty much every video I make, even those that veer hard into politics, I search the scientific literature for guidance on where to go with that topic. And in this case, I was pleasantly surprised to find a decent number of papers about shitposting. But the vast majority seemed mostly concerned with its use by the far right to derail serious discussion, and also to attract younger men into extremist communities and to shift the Overton window to make bigoted and hateful ideas more palatable, more able to be said. And that's fair to study shitposting like that, because that has been surely the most important shitposting story of the past decade. But as I've argued before in regards to doxing, the use of a tactic to do immoral things does not necessarily make the tactic in and of itself immoral. For instance, a punch is not moral or immoral. It may be immoral for a mother to punch her baby, but when Buzz Aldrin punches a moon landing denier, it's actually very funny, very based.
You're the one who said you walked on the moon when you didn't. Calling the kettle black, if I ever thought of it. Saying I misrepresented myself.
Away from me.
You're a coward and a liar.
So I was happy to stumble across some research that looked at shitposting from a more neutral standpoint. Shitposting as Public Pedagogy, published last year in Curriculum Inquiry by Dr. Peter Woods, assistant professor in learning sciences at the University of Nottingham, and, I quote, avid shitposter. Woods explicitly calls out his colleagues for being too focused on shitposting as a fascist tool, when he has observed its efficacy for a range of political ends. For this paper, he specifically looks at two prominent shitposters on Shitter, Drill and Sunny Delight. Yes, the god of weird Twitter and the brand that sells orange sugar water that I hear hillbillies love. Sunny D is held up as an example of how shitposting has been used by corporations in order to sell their shitty products to us, something I have been annoyed at for forever, so I really appreciated this section of the paper. I cannot tell you how annoyed I was with friends of mine talking online about how they were all going to go out and buy Steakums because the Steakums social media manager decided to come out against misinformation. It's dystopian and I hate it. And no, I will not be engaging with comments on this video that whine, well, at least it's better than other brands kind of advertising. And no, not today, Satan. While I enjoyed this section of the paper, eviscerating Sunny D's viral shitpost as a form of public pedagogy that reinscribes extant power relations by further legitimizing the corporation and marginalizing those managing mental health issues, for now I'd rather focus on the section about Drill. Woods points to Drill's famous corncob post as an example of a shitpost that may actually have increased media literacy. The fact that Drill's post does not actually reference any specific debate, much less any specific debater, combined with the copious amount of typos and the over-the-top absurdity of the corncob imagery, focuses the audience's attention on the rhetorical act of refusing to admit that one has lost an argument. Since Drill first posted the tweet in 2011, corncobbing has become a commonly used form of online shorthand for losing an argument with bravado that social media users often refer to when engaging with politicians through their social media accounts. Beyond merely being a descriptive term, users will often respond in droves to politicians engaging in this debate tactic with references to the original tweets, both through written responses and images of corn cobs. In doing so, social media users reverse the typical directionality of political messaging, thus engaging the turbulent and pedagogical nature of shitposting. Rather than solely receiving the messages of politicians, the greater population now has a tool that can challenge the posturing of public figures and produce a counter-narrative through this public pedagogy. The original tweet and its subsequent aesthetic pedagogy then provides enough turbulence to produce an admittedly small shift in social media's online political discourse that has lasted for over a decade. Woods goes on to point out that fascists and far-right conservatives have also used corn cobbing, as when Mitch McConnell deployed it against AOC when she was trying to have a substantive conversation about why the Republican-led Senate would force a vote on climate change without public debate, thus exemplifying how far-right groups construct an oppressive public pedagogy through the use of transgressive, liberatory, postmodern language to promote anti-modern modern racist conspiratorial ideas in the form of shitposting. Woods concludes that shitposting has to be studied not as simply far-right propaganda, but as a tool that can achieve a number of political ends, as well as increasing media literacy in fun and unexpected ways. And so, with that in mind, let's turn back to the shitpost that sent me down this rabbit hole. J.D. Vance once fucked a couch. By now, I'm sure everyone knows that this was a shitpost, thanks to every mainstream news outlet reporting it with headlines like, J.D. Vance did not have sex with a couch, which, of course, only added to the shitpost appeal and kept the jokes going on for longer. This is, in my opinion, a shitpost for good. As Rick Santorum will forever be connected to that frothy mixture of lube and fecal matter that is sometimes the byproduct of anal sex, J.D. Vance will be connected with couch fucking. Either is a couch fucker or is not a couch fucker. Honestly, if you have to pick one, I guess you go with the second, but really, neither is a title you want as a serious political candidate. Ultimately, I know many of you come to my channel for the facts and for the corrections of misinformation, so I will conclude with my official take on this topic as a critical thinker. Technically, those headlines are all wrong. Yes, the original tweet was a shitpost made up for giggles. However, philosopher Karl Popper wrote in his famous treatise, The Logic of Scientific Discovery in 1934, that a non-negotiable standard of scientific analysis is falsifiability. Accordingly, one can prove that J.D. Vance once fucked a couch by directly observing that happening. One can even garner sufficient evidence to suggest that it's highly likely J.D. Vance once fucked a couch by, for instance, gathering evidence like a latex glove full of his DNA, things like that. However, the negative claim that J.D. Vance has never fucked a couch is not falsifiable. To prove that, one would need to observe Vance for every minute of his life from birth until now, an act that is simply unreasonable without a time machine. Therefore, the headlines claiming J.D. Vance didn't fuck a couch are incorrect. Right now, the best that can be said for the matter is that J.D. Vance hasn't ever said that he fucked a couch. And maybe the best possible refutation would be saying that J.D. Vance says he never fucked a couch, but as far as I can tell, he hasn't said that yet, which is suspicious. I encourage our mainstream media to consider pursuing this story until they get word one way or the other, and then to push out another headline, something like, J.D. Vance insists he has never fucked a couch. That would be fun, and also accurate. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you loved the video, please subscribe. And if you think the world could use more videos like this and you happen to have a few bucks laying around, head to patreon.com/Rebecca and join an awesome community of nerds like the people whose names you see on the screen right now. Thanks.